Okay, here we are, the final week of Shovavim Tat, and we've got to make it count. And no better way to steer into it by the fact that it ends with Purim Cotton. Um, Purim Cotton has all the kedusha of Purim Gadol. All right, the Mishnah says Ain Bain. Other Rishon Sheni, there's no difference except for the halachot that we read the Megillah and we give matanot le'evyonim. On the second Purim, because Chazal only wants us to do the halachot of Purim only once. But otherwise, the Mishnah Ein Bein, there's no difference. Meaning we have the kedusha of Purim twice this year, and the second time is on a higher level because it's built on the shoulders of the first time. Just Chazal only wanted us to do the halachot of Purim once. There shouldn't be years where we do have two Purims, and in the event that we have two Adars, so we, the Psak Halacha is to do Purim in Adar Sheni, Mismach Gula Gila Adifa, because it's better to have the Gula of Purim near the Gula of Pesach, and that's something which we will yet discuss hopefully in all my different forums, and at the very least on my website and my YouTube channel, we will discuss that. Matter of fact, we will be having a Purim Katan Tish this Thursday night, and I will, if I don't record it for you, if I don't live stream it for you, at the very least, I will produce a vort for the occasion. But I want to now, discuss of how, the fact that Shovavim Tat in this special year we have Truma Tetzaveh for reasons that we've explained already a few times, but now it's going to come full circle. There's no better way to steer into it by the fact that it comes out on it culminates with Purim, and like we said, Purim Katan has the same kedusha of any Purim, right? Just we don't, we just keep the halachot of Purim, in the second Adar. Right, but Purim Katan is all the kedusha and all the koach of the first of a regular Purim of every year. Since we do it in the second month to make it closer to Pesach, for reasons that we will yet explain. Okay, so when it says that La Yehudim Haita Ora v'Simcha v'Sasam v'Yikar, after we defeated Haman, we had the Jews had light, Ora Zutar, Simcha, it was a renewal of the Yomim Tovim, right? Visason Zuhamila, Brit Milah. Brit Milah had a renewal, as it were, with the defeat of Haman. What's the connection? All right, so now by the very, very first war with Amalek, to tell you, it's mentioned in Parshat Beshalach, but it's recapped, right? It's recapped again in Parshas Kitetse, in the Parsha of Zachor, that we read the Shabbos before Purim. So it says, Vayezanev b'cha, right, and he hit you in the tail, right? So it says horrible things over there. Vayezanev hit you in the tail, Asher Korcha and Vayezanev Bacha, that he sodomized the Jews that he was able to catch up to when Amalek attacked. And he cut off the Brit Milah. Makat Zanav, he cut off the Brit Milah and he threw it at heaven and said to God, in a very spiteful way, in a very aggressive way, Bazeh Bacharta, Tomash Bacharta, you want this Brit Milah thing? Take what you chose, right? Amalek is against the Brit Milah, right? So why? Amalek has a particular hang-up against Brit Milah, and that's why, of course, whenever we overcome Haman, we overcome Amalek, the power of the Brit comes out, right? It goes back to exactly what we've been saying throughout this series. And particularly to what makes it special this year, that we have Truma Tetzaveh, that we already get into the parshiot that are connected to the Mishkan, which means a connection ultimately to the Beit HaMikdash, right? The Brit is all about putting kedusha even in this world, right? To bring it all the way down. It's the column, it's the yesod, it's the column, it's the foundation. It holds up the world. And we explained this at great length throughout this series. And if in any one of the forums it got deleted, it should be available on my YouTube channel and my website. We have been discussing this, at great length. Okay, Amalek is the anti of that, the total anti. Amalek wants to separate earth from heaven. The Brit is about bringing heaven to earth, right? Bringing heaven to earth in as far as making fruit and making a difference, and that's in a regular year when it ends at Mishpatim, which is a parsha of Matan Torah, and Parsha Mishpatim always ends, always comes out before Rosh Chodesh Adar. The latest Mishpatim comes out is on Rosh Chodesh Adar, like it did this year, right? Mishpatim, at latest comes out Rosh Chodesh Adar, which means the main thrust of Shovavim, right, is during Shvat, right? It doesn't reach Adar because it doesn't make it to the Tikkun of Adar, and I'll explain to you why, right? Because what's keeping earth separated from heaven is Amalek. It's still as hard as we try to connect the two, right? Amalek gets in the way, and that's what it means. Kiyad al Kes Ka. In Parshat B'Shalach, by the original war with Amalek, what's missing? Aleph from Kisei, and the Vav and Hey from Yud Kei Vav. Yad al Kes Ka, right? There's a hand on the case, not Kisei, of Ka, Yud and Hey. The Vav and Hey are missing, and the Aleph are missing, right? God's throne is only complete here on earth, right? The earth has to be part of God's throne, and then God's throne is incomplete because earth is not part of God's throne, as it were. God is not fully melech here on earth, right? And now the letters Vav and Hey, right, represent the 7 midot that are teva. The 7, the Vav is Chesed, Gvur, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and the final Hey is Malchut, Yesod and Malchut, and we discussed this, we alluded to this, right? These are the Sfirot with which Hashem operates the lower realm, Teva. And Amalek wants to keep these things separate from God. God, stay in heaven. And that's what the Pasuk says, always, right? Ki machod et zechrek mitachat hashamayim. I'm going to get rid of the memory of Amalek that's under the sky. Timched zechar Amalek mitachat hashamayim. Parshas Ki Tetzei. You get rid of the memory of any memory of Amalek under the sky. That's where Amalek is, under the sky, barring heaven from coming to earth. Right? What's that? The total opposite of the Beit HaMikdash. Right? The Beit HaMikdash to bring heaven to earth. I mean, the Torah itself brings heaven to earth in a sense that the Torah, it used to be heaven, comes down to earth, and that's already enough to make a difference, like we learned. And that's, we have milchama, with the power of the Torah, we wage war, milchamta shel Torah, to make chidushei Torah, and with the koach of the Brit, that, is to make new Jews, who is the Am Torah, the nation that contains the Torah, right? But, but there's a higher level of bringing heaven to earth of Beit HaMikdash, and Mishkan, and subsequently Beit HaMikdash. And, of Mamish, let's say it like this. With the Torah on earth, that's like heaven having an embassy on earth. And that's what a Beit Midrash is. A Beit Midrash where we learn Torah, that's an embassy of heaven. That's an embassy of heaven. With a Beit HaMikdash, and hear this well, because this is a very important point. With a Beit HaMikdash on earth, heaven is here. The Shekhinah is here, and it has an embassy in heaven also, but the Shekhinah is here. This is the place of the Shekhinah, and there's an embassy of the Shekhinah in Shamayim. Right? It's the other way around. And we said in the very last session, that is the highest level of bringing heaven to earth, if you view space as round, and we're taught in Kabbalah that it is, right? Lahavdil. Also, Einstein says space is curved, right? But forget that. Right, that's because we're talking about something much bigger than physical space. We're talking about existence itself around. So if you have a diameter that starts on the top, so until it reaches the very bottom, You say where it started from is the top, and where it's going to is the bottom. But once it goes all the way through to the bottom, it's v'nahafochu. Get it? V'nahafochu, as in Purim, v'nahafochu. You can't tell there's which is on top, which on bottom, because it's round, right? So once the diameter cuts all the way through, so, who says this is the top and that's the bottom? Maybe it's the other way around, right? There's no difference between top and bottom. We have to bring the Shekhinah down to earth so strong that no one could tell which one is heaven and which one is earth. And ultimately, earth is going to be Olam Haba, this world when it will be refashioned after the 7th millennium. In the 8th millennium, it's going to climb to the highest madrega to be on top of all the worlds, right? All right. There's a lot to unpack here, right? But the Beit HaMikdash is part of making that revolution of bringing heaven all the way down to earth, and Amalek is the blockage. So now Chazal tell us, and the Rambam brings us to the beginning of Hilchos Malachim. Gimel mitzvahs nitztavu yisrael b'kisasim la'aretz. Am Yisrael got 3 mitzvot that got immediately activated upon entering the land of Israel. When we spoke about this in the past, how Brit Milah is our merit to have the land of Israel, because land of Israel is where heaven meets earth. That's the Holy Land, right? And that's what Brit Milah is about. And we discussed this in many different forms quite a few times. We even made mention of it on Zos Chanukah, if you recall. Okay, so now when coming to Eretz Yisrael, we had 3 mitzvot, right? To first appoint a king, because anyone knows the midah of Malchut Shamayim. The king represents the kingdom of heaven, right? Appointed lahachrid zar shemot, destroy Amalek, v'livnot et Beit HaBechira, and to build the Beit HaMikdash. It goes in there, first have a king to represent the kingdom of heaven. You have to make war and destroy Amalek, and only then you can build the Beit HaMikdash. Only then. Where's the Beit HaMikdash? In Har Tzion. Ki bachar Hashem b'Tzion Iva lemoshe. Iva, he desired to sit there, right? Iva, what's otiot Iva is Aleph, that's missing from Kisei, and the Vav and Hey, that's missing from Ka, right? That in Zion, we restore all the missing letters that are missing because Amalek is blocking when we build the Beit HaMikdash. And you should know, when Haman was instrumental, in stopping the Binyan Beit HaMikdash that started already under Koresh. It was called the Klipa of Amalek, that the construction of Beit HaMikdash was halted, and after the Nes of Purim, it was resumed. Amalek wants to stop the Beit HaMikdash, or we can't get to the Beit HaMikdash until we get rid of Amalek, because he's the blockage. He is the blockage that stops heaven coming from earth. And that's what means he's against Brit Milah. Because we said last time, we have to attach this column that comes. It starts, everything that we believe in our head, everything that we know to be true in our heart, which are the mitzvot tzimidiot of emunah and Hashem, and not believing in any gods, knowing that He's one, loving Him and fearing Him, and then it goes down the column to lo tatur achil vav achrei nechem, to control our desires, to be solidly aligned and never deviating, right? And the last is to firmly affix that column to earth, right? Get it firmly affixed. And that's the Beit HaMikdash. And that's the highest level of Brit Milah. Now, what difference does it make cosmically? Hear this well. You can never forget about God. When this happens, you can never forget about God. Because the connection between heaven and earth is solid and unbreakable. Now, how does this play out with Brit Milah? Right? The Gemara says in Shabbos, this Gemara Shabbos, right, that David HaMelech, he was in the bathhouse, going to the mikveh, right, and he felt arumin on mitzvahs. He felt naked from mitzvahs. I'm not connected. Mitzvah, mitzvahs, also tzavta, to be good. With every mitzvah connected to Hashem, he felt, where's my connection to Hashem? Right? And Nizkar B'Milah. And he remembered, wait, I have Brit Milah. And after that, he came out of the mikveh. He said, Lam Ratzech Al Shmid. He said a special hymn in Tehillim, for the 8th, for mitzvah, Milah Shenitna Bashmini. Right? Brit Milah keeps us connected to Hashem wherever we are. If we're Shomer Brit, if we're Shomer Brit, if we're Shomer the Brit, so we keep our connection with Hashem solid wherever we are, right? We'll never be separated. So even if we're in a place where we can't think Torah, we can't do mitzvahs, we're still connected, right? And that's having a Beit HaMikdash on earth, is that the connection between heaven and earth is solid. Like we said, it's so solid and it's so continuous that you don't even know where the Shekhinah really is. Right? Maybe the Shekhinah is, and really that's the way it is. The Shekhinah is really on earth. It has an embassy in Shamayim, right? And Amalek is against that. Amalek wants to block that, right? You know, like I said, we're reading now the parsha that have to do with the Mishkan. So even though we don't reach the level of the Mishkan in action, which is what we read in Vayakov Kure, but the plans of the Mishkan, we have already a connection to the Mishkan. The plans of Mishkan means the Mishkan that we carry in our head and heart. That's the context of Truma Tetzaveh. That Bilvavi Mishkan Evne, I think Rav Yehuda Levi said, or he said something very similar to Rav Hutner rephrases Bilvavi Mishkan Evne. It's based on something that Rav Yehuda Levi said, you know, something very similar, of having the Mishkan in the heart, right? Having and it's actually I left an audio on a parsha sheet, on some of my forums last week, right? So Tetzaveh now refers to Kedushat Kahuna, right? A Kohen has, so what does it say? The highest thing that the Kohen Gadol could do is to do the Avor in Yom Kippurim, right? And it says, Bezot Yavo Aaron El HaKodesh, Bezot B'schus HaMilah. Right? One of the things that's in merit of is Zot, which is the Schut HaMilah, because it says Zot Briti, right? This is my covenant, Zot, right? Kedushas Kuna, if a Kohen doesn't have a bris milah, that's considered a blemish, and the Kohanim, which act out, they represent us to act out the full koach of the Brit. Right, on Yom Kippur, he goes into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's B'schut HaMilah, where heaven and earth are merged. He goes into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which is God's space, right? Now, who is Malach HaBrit? That really broke the boundaries between heaven and earth, and he does all the trips all the time with his body. He didn't die. He took his body to heaven. Eliyahu HaNavi. Eliyahu HaNavi is the Malach HaBrit, right? And that's why Eliyahu HaNavi, is appears in the Megillah. How? Charvona. Chazal say Charvona wasn't the Charvona that snitched on Haman and got him executed. So the Chazal say that, I believe Rashi brings it right there in Megillah, that it was Eliyahu Navi appearing as Charvona. That's where we allude to V'gam Charvona Zachor Latov, because we find a Lashon Chazal Eliyahu Zachor Latov, always remembering for good. The opposite of Amalek that wants us to forget. Right? Amalek wants us to forget about God, live life unconnected, disconnect heaven from earth, forget about Hashem. Right, that's all. It's what Amalek. That's why the mitzvah of Zachor. Right, remember who Amalek is, because you have to see him who he is. If you remember who he is, he's not going to allow you to forget about God, and that's why Zachor Lotir, because that's what he tries to do to you. He tries to make you forget about God. Therefore, you don't always remember who he is, and that way you're wary of him, and you could, let's say, and always ask yourself, how is Amalek affecting me now? Right, and that's what Chazal tell us. Amalek is gematria safek, doubts. Whether you doubt the existence of God, whether you doubt that everything that Hashem does is for our good, and if it hurts, it's because we sinned and we need it as therapy and medicine and kapara. Right, he makes you doubt, but he also makes you doubt. Like, am I a boy? Am I a girl? All doubt, all mental illness comes from Amalek. All mental illness. It ultimately comes from the Eitz Hadat Tovara, when we ruined our brains, right? And that's where the Orlah comes from. Chazal say after Adam ate from the Eitz Hadat, he pulled out his Orlah, he pulled out his foreskin. Adam Rishon didn't have a foreskin beforehand. Mankind would have never been born with an Orlah, not from the Eitz Hadat. But Haman minat Torah minayin, where's a remes for Haman? In the Torah, Gemara says in Chulin Kuflametet, I believe, it says Hamina Etz. Right, the Eitz Hadat Torah was a precursor of Amalek. Amalek is like all the confusion, all the lack of clarity, all the lack of dveikut. That's Amalek. And that's why Amalek is is blockage that prevents the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash. Right. And that's why Esther instituted Shushan Purim. Yeah, for Yimochin Gam Mochar. And what's the halach of Shushan Purim? Any city that has a Choma Mimot Yoshua Ben Nun, it was to give honor to Yerushalayim. The Yerushalmi says that was Nechrav. Because whenever we beat Amalek, there's like a sense of rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash, getting closer to the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash. That's what Shushan Purim is all about. And Shushan Purim Cotton is, as we finish Tetzaveh, as we finish the Shovim Tach. Right? And so I want to just recap what I said last time. You should know that the Amalek is a pervert. As he said, he sodomized Am Yisrael, tried to make them gay, cut them off. He castrated them like they do, to children who say, maybe I'm a girl, and all that. That whole thing comes from Amalek. All mental illness and all like safek, safek about, not just about holy things, safek and emunah, chas v'shalom, right? But even safekot of mental illness, where a person questions most basic reality, right? That's all from Amalek. It's all from Amalek, right? And the way we fight him is with kedushat habrit. We said kedushat habrit is that solid pillar that goes from head all the way down to between the legs, right? It's a solid pillar that forms the core of your personality. It goes from head down the spinal cord to the heart, down the spinal cord to the Brit Kodesh, right? It is the solid column that if you have crazy thoughts, but you have your solid core, that a person goes insane, right? Right, when everyone's got crazy thoughts. The mind sometimes produces thoughts. The mind clicks away and produces crazy thoughts, or you get crazy thoughts from society, from the power of suggestion. The crazy man, the crazy thought penetrates the core of his personality, right? Penetrates the head, penetrates the heart. God forbid, right? You got to have a fortification, which is another remez of Shushan Purim, a choma, a wall. Right? But in our case, we're talking about a solid pillar that nothing gets in. The pillar is solid and continuous from head to heart to maaseh down to the Brit Kodesh. And if you have that solid pillar, Amalek can't penetrate. And that solid pillar is the Beit HaMikdash Shomala, Mechuvan Keneged Beit HaMikdash Shomata. Right? And so here we have to do this. We got to, in Parshas Tetzaveh, we read about the Big Day Kahuna and Kedushat Kahuna, right? It's like that the Kedusha of the Beit HaMikdash is not just in the Beit HaMikdash, it's even in the Kohanim that serve in the Beit HaMikdash. And the Kohanim are the agents of the Jewish people. Hani Kani, Shluchei Didan, Shluchei the Rachmana, or Shulchan Shmaya, right? The Kohanim are not just messengers of Hashem; they're our messengers also, right? The Gemara says, the Kohanim represent all Am Yisrael, right? And the Big Day Kahuna is like tikkun of it comes in lieu that the body is tainted from Chet Adam Rishon, so the begadim, are like making the body, more befitted. That's why going to the avoda in the Big Day Kahuna, right? Because his body is tainted. The Big Day Kahuna overcome the tainting of the body, right? But it's all refers to like, and the tainting of the body is all how we're still fighting the war of Kedushat HaBrit, right? That's why the Kohanim need the Big Day Kahuna, and but they represent us, and it all the pieces come together, right? And so I want to add one more thing. I began saying this in the last session of this series, and we want to go full circle now. The special power of a leap year is that it's a year of tikkun, of trying to equalize the moon and the sun, which is the original glitch in reality that widened with Chet Adam Rishon, widened even more with Chet Egel, and Amalek. It says in the Svar Makdoshim, all the contamination that came. It started with the mitigation of the moon, and it got worse with the Chet Adam Rishon, and we kind of fixed it with Matan Torah, but then it all had a setback and got reversed with Chet Egel. If there's a nation that's parallel to the essence of the contamination, this contamination that kind of started, with the mitigation of the moon, got a lot worse, Chet Adam Rishon, got a little bit fixed, but then got worse again with Chet Ego. That contamination, if there's a nation parallel to that contamination, it's Amalek. It's Amalek. It's the evil in the world. That's why Muhammad Hashem Ba'amalek door for every generation until it's going to end when we finally reach the end of time when there's just no evil in the world. That's when Amalek will end also. And in this special year where we're fixing and we're realigning the moon and sun, and we said that Adar Sheni is built out of 3 sets of Aser Simei Tshuva. We said this in previous session, not going to repeat it again. It's a special year, and a special year. So it also, if we fix what's wrong with the world, we realign. So we also align the Yesod and Malchut, that the Yesod should not be mashpia with Zera Levato to the force of evil, but it should only be focus. Yesod shall be focused at Malchut Shamayim, and that's Livnot Lehem Melech, with which La'achud Zar Shamalek, and Livnot Beit HaBechira. And that's why it's a year of where we feel even a taste of the Beit HaMikdash. We get into the parshas of Truma Tetzaveh, right? And maybe something we have to remember, and we're terribly reminded of on October 7th, Simchas Torah, right? Which is one of the happiest days, right up there with Purim. As we know from our experience, right? We hope that Purim will not be a repeat of October 7th. It'll be only a Yom Simcha and nothing. But we have to be reminded that we don't have a Beit HaMikdash life. The very fact, let's say it this way, the very fact that we could think it's normal not to have a Beit HaMikdash, that's Amalek. That's the Amalek in us. If Amalek has one, if we think, Beit HaMikdash is just like something extra, something, extra credit, make the world a little bit better than it is, but the world's fine without a Beit HaMikdash. That's Amalek. That is Amalek in our heads. That's Amalek in our heads. That's Amalek in our hearts, right? There's just too much Jewish music. It's also listen to music, Zechel Chorban. According to the Rambam, it's straight up usher, musical, music, right? Rav Moshe Feinstein Pascal's like the Rambam, by the way, not like Tosfos. Right? All this Jewish music, and it's not Jewish at all, that we could be happy without a Beit HaMikdash on earth. And that's what I said last time. We have to start doing Tikkun Chatzot. And I'm going to release a series of shiurim on Tikkun Chatzot. We have to start feeling empathy with God. God is waking us up that this is not normal. The Yerushalmi says in Yuma, Kol Dor Shel Nivna Beis Mikdash Kilu Nechra B'Yamav. Any generation did not witness the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash as if the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed then. So my Rosh Hashanah, Yaakov Weinberg Zatzal said, wait a minute, that's not fair. You could say, just because I didn't witness the rebuilding, it's as if I destroyed it. What did I do? I was born into this situation. Said the Rosh Hashiva, right? Because the most natural thing is to have a Beit HaMikdash. That's what HaKadosh wanted. He wanted this world to be a holy place. He wanted the Shekhinah on earth. And not that, he wanted the Shekhinah to be mainly on earth and just be an embassy of the Shekhinah in heaven. So whenever something's natural, right? So if you have setback, it grows back. Like just like you're sick, you heal. Everything goes back to that. The Beit HaMikdash should have been restored already because it's natural to have a Beit HaMikdash. And if it wasn't, it's as if we must be doing something wrong to bar it from coming back. Which means we're partners with Amalek, who bars the Beis HaMikdash, bars Kedusha, manifests his world, bars Hiboch Hashem B'Tzion, Eva, L'Moshe. We're there, we're doing guilty of blocking the Aleph from Kisei and the Vav and Hey, right? So I think, what needs to be done, to make the Shovavim Tat a complete thing, that it ends with, the parsha that have to do with the Mishkan, right, is, in order to, of course, double down on Kedushat HaBrit, because, and I'm telling you, the world is mentally ill. And there's so much mental illness in the world because why has mental illness increased so much in the last few generations, right? Is because the last few generations, there's a war against Kedushat HaBrit, and that's where the mental illness comes from, like we explained. It's Amalek. It's Amalek, right? It's the war on Kedushat HaBrit, which is, that's the pillar. Once there's no stable pillar, there's no stability, and any crazy thought could catch on. God help us, right? But it's also, the very fact that we could think life is normal the way it is, is that's the Amalek in us. Kedushat Habrit is one and the same with on its highest level is having a Beit HaMikdash on earth. Right, so let's take on reinforcing Kedushat Habrit, the Muhammad against Amalek, right, and the real shuka, to have a Beis HaMikdash on earth. So let's couple and finalize our Shovim Tat now with a commitment to be uncompromising Kedushat Habrit. We have to watch what we see, watch what we hear, right? Always, be serious in a good way of being serious people, not these idiots that just throw their hips around and with a little few tunes of music. They call that simcha. It's frivolity. It's kalut hadat. There's nothing holy about it. It's a big lie, right? We have to be serious people, never forgetting about Koshru, but also never forgetting that we're in Golos, never forgetting that the world as it is unacceptable, abnormal, and unnatural. And that's why all the abnormality and unnaturalness of being gay and transgender is in the world. Right, and we have to all reject as being, unacceptable, not real, right? Not what Hashem wanted, and we have to feel the pain that there's no Beit HaMikdash on earth, right? This world is not normal. We shouldn't be besimcha, and we have halachas of how we shouldn't be besimcha until the Beit HaMikdash is rebuilt, which includes not listening to music, right? Even Jewish music. Music is asur, right? Except for like a wedding. And even at a wedding, you have to, the chatan has to put on ashes and break the glass, and we make it into a whole kumzah. It's to remember Yerushalayim. Even though it's the happiest day of his life, his happiness is not complete because the world is a sick world. Hashem is not happy with the world as it is. We have to never forget Yerushalayim. Especially what's going on now in Eretz, so we have to never forget Yerushalayim, right? So, and that's why Kedushat Habrit, Mechiat Amalek leads into Binyan Beit HaMikdash. So let's take on the unswerving commitment to fight for Kedushat Habrit, right? And not let the world to think that being gay is normal, being transgender is normal, right? We have to fight for Kedushat Habrit, right? Reject anything that's anti-Kedushat Habrit, and you will see it'll give you mental stability. You will see, right? But also it all has to be coupled with Truma Tetzaveh, right? If we're going to reach the level of Tikkun Habrit, which is going to lead to Mashiach and lead to Binyan Beit HaMikdash, so we have to realize that the world is not normal without a Beit HaMikdash. Right, we have to take on Tikkun Chatzot. Rosh should help, right? We would b'schut Kedushat Habrit, and we engage with Milchemet Hayetzer. The Milchemet Hayetzer and Mechiat Hayetzer will lead to Mechiat Amalek, and we'll see Binyan Beit HaMikdash Bimhera B'Yameinu, hopefully even before Pesach, and we'll even Korban Pesach will have Yerushalayim, Yavnoch Hashem Min HaPsachim, Zvachim Psachim, Asher Giyot Zechal Ratzon, V'nodel Shir Chodosh, Al Gosenu V'al Pedus Nafshenu Ken Yiratzon.